to the session, the Hindu Editorial Analysis for Proficiency in English. Today's editorial is all about Sri Lanka, what is happening over there. And we all know 2022, there was a big crisis in Sri Lanka. After that, slowly it started recovering. Now, in the month of September, they're going in for elections. Against this backdrop, who is contesting or who is going to contest? What are the chances? What happened in the past? All these dimensions have been touched. Let us start with the question, what is the enrichment? As usual, you improve your comprehension skill, your vocabulary. Today's editorial, not too many words, only a few words, 5 to 6 words, and these also familiar words. Grammar consolidation, effective English. Let us start with editorial vocabulary. Back from the brink. It is an idiomatic expression. Back from the brink. Brink means edge. You go to a particular situation where you're about to collapse, but you don't collapse, you come back. Then we say, back from the brink. Good morning, Nagajyoti. Part of speech, it is an idiomatic expression. To narrowly avoid disaster or collapse, to come close to something very negative, such as failure or destruction, but then recover. That is the most important dimension. You go close to disaster, almost there, on the verge of, on the brink of, but you bounce back, you recover. Then we use this. Look at the example. The company was brought back from the brink of bankruptcy through effective restructuring. Perhaps they were about to announce or reach bankruptcy or insolvency, but because of certain measures like restructuring, they could come back from the bankruptcy. Here you have to recollect the word insolvency. Bankrupt, insolvent, both in a way, one and the same. Synonyms: rescued, saved, recovered, averted. Antonyms: fallen, collapsed, destroyed, failed. Incumbent, we have got many a time. It can be a noun, it can be an adjective. The current holder of a particular office or position. Incumbent Prime Minister, who is the present Prime Minister. Incumbent party, the party in power. Look at the example. The incumbent mayor is seeking re-election for another term. Part of speech adjective here. Incumbent mayor. Right now he is the mayor. He wants to contest again and is seeking re-election. Current, existing, present, reigning. Reigning champions, a reigning team, a reigning government means current situation. They are they are in power. Current, existing, present, reigning. Challenger, successor, opponent, previous. Not exactly the opposite words, in a way. Contenders, contend. One who competes. Contenders, those who compete. Part of speech, noun. Individuals or teams competing for a prize or honor, candidates in a competition. Example, among the contenders for the championship, he is considered the strongest. Imagine some tournament, a lot of people are contesting or competing. One particular person is considered the strongest. Then we say, among the contenders, she is considered the strongest. Competitors, candidates, challengers, aspirants. Spectators, supporters, non-participants. Those who watch, they don't compete. Garner. Even this word we have already got. Garner means to gather or collect. It goes with information. It also goes with people or groups. You collect them. To gather or collect something, especially information or approval. Garner information, garner approval, garner communities, garner people. Look at the example. The politician managed to garner support from various community groups. Support from various groups he could collect. gather, collect, accumulate, amass. But usually, accumulate, amass, they go with wealth. He has accumulated a lot of wealth. He has amassed a lot of wealth. Disperse, scatter, lose, distribute. Moratorium. I think this is a word, though we haven't got in the recent past. This you have to remember. Moratorium, part of speech noun. A temporary prohibition or suspension of an activity. Some activity temporarily suspended or stopped or prohibited. We use there is a moratorium on that particular activity. Look at the example. The government imposed a moratorium on the construction of new buildings. Means builders cannot construct new buildings. There is a moratorium, means suspension of the activity. Suspension, halt, pause, ban. Continuation, a resumption, persistence. Envisage. We have got this also many a time. Part of speech, a verb. It's a regular verb. To imagine or expect something in future, especially something good. It is a positive word, it has a positive connotation. You visualize something good in future, envisage. To conceive a plan or vision for the future. Someone thinks of the future, conceive means here to come up with a plan or vision or a project, thinking of the future. Envisaged, an innovative project. Example, she envisages a future where renewable energy sources dominate the market. We can also say she envisages a bright market, bright future for the renewable sources of energy. Synonyms, imagine, foresee, visualize, anticipate. Antonyms, ignore, disregard, overlook, dismiss. Those are the words, not too many words, and these words also quite familiar. Let us go to the editorial. As I said, this is all about elections in Sri Lanka in the month of September. Against that, what is the ground reality, what happened in the past, and what should be the future, what has to be done. How does it start? Back from the brink. We all know way back in 2022, Sri Lanka experienced a political turmoil and it was in economic crisis for two reasons. One, the tourism industry, its backbone of Sri Lankan economy, tourism industry, got badly affected because of COVID and also because of bomb blast. Against that backdrop, subsequent to that, political turmoil and on the brink, but it bounced back. Back from the brink on the Sri Lankan elections and the road ahead. The editorial touches three dimensions. One, the past, then the present, and the road ahead means the future. But what is the main idea? Sri Lanka has an opportunity. Here it is in present tense, it talks about possession. I have something, he has something. Sri Lanka has an opportunity to do what? To elect a truly democratic representative government. Now Sri Lanka has an opportunity. What is that opportunity? To elect a truly representative government. That is important for democracy. Sri Lanka's ninth presidential election scheduled for September 21st. Scheduled for an important combination you have to remember. Scheduled for tomorrow, scheduled for Monday, scheduled for September 21st. Sri Lanka's ninth presidential election, scheduled for September 21st, has attracted present perfect active voice, a record 39 candidates. Actually, we think, oh, 39, but 2019 it was just four short of 39. That means 35. More or less the same number, but still they consider that a record. A record 39 candidates, signaling a return to business as usual despite the severe economic crisis of 2022. What does it indicate, this sentence? It talks about the ninth presidential election scheduled for September 21st in Sri Lanka. And it also says this election has attracted 39 candidates, a record 39 candidates. And this shows something, this signals something. What does it signal? Business as usual means returning to normalcy. Business as usual means coming back to normalcy, despite a contrasting preposition. You have to think of two things here. One is despite of, not the right combination. And in spite of should be written as three separate words. You have to recollect that despite the severe economic crisis of 2022. Despite the crisis today, 39 candidates are in the fray. In the fray means competing. And it shows that they have bounced back from the brink. The number, when you see the phrase the number, you have to recollect an important rule. What is that rule? The number is used, it takes a singular verb. A number takes a plural verb. Here, the number, after that we have a phrase of contenders, those who are competing, or more than in 2019, another phrase. The number suggests. Here, sentence is in present tense affirmative and the subject is third person singular. So we have to add S or ES to the verb. The number suggests a robust democratic process. It suggests something. What does it suggest? Robust means very strong, a strong democratic process. Now it has to talk about, see, any editorial that deals with elections, you should guess the broad framework. Who is contesting, how many contesting, and what are the parties they represent, which party has the chances, usual dimensions any editorial has to touch. Good morning. There are familiar faces and some surprises. Some familiar faces and some surprises means new candidates. To justify this statement, incumbent President Ranil Wickremesinghe. Incumbent means what? The one who is in power right now. Incumbent President Ranil Wickremesinghe, traditionally with the United National Party, is running as an independent. The incumbent president associated with the United National Party is running as an independent. How old is he? 75. At 75, he aims to garner broad support by highlighting the political and economic stability achieved during his tenure, during his 2-year tenure. When he goes for campaigning, he wants to highlight his 2-year tenure, what exactly happened. He could bring back, yes, he could bring back economic stability and political stability. That he will try to highlight. Understood. And how could he achieve this political stability and economic stability during his 2-year tenure? Made possible by backing from the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna SLPP, led by former President Mahinda Rajapaksa. He got support. It happened because of a particular party. Which party is it? Backing from the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna SLPP, led by former President Mahinda Rajapaksa. In early 2022, now it talks about what exactly happened way back in 2022. In early 2022, Sri Lanka faced the full effect of an economic meltdown brought on by, among other things, an important phrase you have to remember. It talks about something happened in 2022 and so many factors. Among others, there are two important factors. One is COVID 19, the other one is the bomb blasts. In early 2022, Sri Lanka faced the full effect of an economic meltdown brought on by, among other things, the COVID 19 pandemic and the 2019 Easter Sunday bombings. Two important factors because Sri Lanka depends on tourism. COVID pandemic, all the countries got affected, obviously. And bomb blast, obviously, tourists get scared to visit that particular country. The central bank announced a debt repayment moratorium amid unsustainable debt and critically low reserves. Based on the situation, entire tourism industry collapsed and they were not in a position to pay their debts. Based on that, the central bank imposed a moratorium, means suspended for some time. The central bank announced a debt repayment moratorium amid unsustainable debt and critically low reserves. One more factor, the Russia Ukraine conflict further worsened the situation. Russia Ukraine war also added to their problems. The Aragalaya movement resulted in the ousting of President Gotabaya Rajapaksa in 2022. We watched TV channels, and it was like a political turmoil, chaotic situation that time because of a particular movement. What is that movement? The Aragalaya movement resulted in ousting of the President Gotabaya Rajapaksa in 2022. Since then, what happened? Since then, Sri Lanka has secured present perfect active voice, an extended fund facility with the IMF, supported initially by India, and now with an agreement in principle with India and Paris Club creditors on a debt treatment plan. Initially, they took someone's help. Now there is something in understanding, in writing, in principle. Initially, since then, Sri Lanka has secured an extended fund facility with the IMF, supported initially by India. And what is the present status? Now, with an agreement in principle with India and the Paris Club creditors on a debt treatment plan. During the early recovery phase, the people faced the price hikes. That time, prices went up. They could not afford. It talks about that. But off late, after that, subsequent to that, what exactly happened? Recently, prices of electricity, fuel, and cooking gas have decreased, but people are still struggling. Present continuous tense. People are struggling. Earnings from tourism, a major contributor, amounted around 328 million US dollars in July against 219 million US dollars a year ago. Slight improvement is there. However, in a move seen as part of electioneering, the government announced a monthly cost of living allowance of LKR 25,000 for public service employees effective January 2025. Elections are in the month of. Oh, Bukia Yakub, how come you are here? Elections are in the month of September. As part of the campaigning strategy, electioneering it is known as, the government has announced 25,000 Sri Lankan currency. Oh, wonderful. Glad to know that. That's really good, Yakub. Congratulations, and very happy to know that. Very good. I appreciate that. IBPS PO, Punjab, and Sindh Bank. Wonderful. Going back to the editorial, however, in a move seen as part of the electioneering, just to get more votes for the vote bank, the government announced a monthly cost of living allowance. How much? 25,000 for whom? Public service employees, effective from January 2025. Mr. Vikramasinghe faces Sajid Premadasa of the Samagi Jana Balavegia United People's Front, Anura Kumara Dissanayake of the Janata Vimukti Peramuna, and Mahinda Rajapaksa's son, Namal of the SLPP. His competitors. Thank you very much, Yakub. Glad to know that. No, that's okay. I appreciate you remembered and you got back. Very good. I wish you a bright future in the banking sector. Make your mark. That's really good. Here he talks about his competitors, all these competitors. Now he talks about Mr. Dissanayake, who visited India in February, hopes to capitalize on Capitalize on something means take advantage of some situation. Hopes to capitalize on public frustration with traditional political parties. Right now in Sri Lanka, the people are not happy with the political parties. They're frustrated with the political parties. He wants to cash on that, capitalize on that, take advantage of that. Hopes to capitalize on public frustration with traditional political parties, a sentiment that fueled the Aragalaya movement. This is a source, frustration with the political parties. Other candidates include P. Aryanethan, a common Tamil candidate, Sarath Fonseca, former army commander, and Nuwan Bopage, a nominee of the Aragalaya activists. Other contenders. The leading candidate should. Now the editor takes a stand. It tells what they have to do. Stand taken by the editorial. The leading candidate should push for the restoration of provincial councils. It talks about reviving the provincial councils. This is from now on, editorial talks about revival of provincial councils and the reasons behind. The leading candidate should push for the restoration of provincial councils, which represent a measure of autonomy. Autonomy means what? Being independent, autonomous body, independent body, as envisaged in the 13th Amendment, as visualized in the 13th Amendment. It is a sad commentary on the Sri Lankan political leadership that the councils have been rendered non functional for years. Here, the councils have been rendered present perfect tense passive voice. And you have to understand, they have been made weak, have been rendered non functional for years. Whoever is elected by about 17 million voters as president should revive. The main idea is being reiterated, revive the provincial councils which are not Tamil centric. The editorial is not telling and cautioning us they're not Tamil centric. Then why should they revive these provisional councils which are not Tamil centric but are intended to infuse an element of agency for the people in running their affairs? Provincial councils, they can deal with their problems more efficiently. A functional democracy is the first step to fixing the economy. How does the editorial end? A functional democracy is the first step to fixing the economy. To fix the economy, we need a prerequisite, functional democracy, against the backdrop of elections. So it starts with that. Truly representative government, democratic government, can fix the economy. It ends on that note. Now let us go to questions based on comprehension and listening skill. Try to answer all these. What is significant about Sri Lanka's ninth presidential election? It is the first presidential election in Sri Lanka. It has attracted a record number of 39 candidates. It is being held after a gap of 10 years. No. It is the first election without any independent candidates. No. So, what is the answer here? B is the answer. Very good. What economic challenges did Sri Lanka face in early 2022? It faced two challenges. One, the bomb blast, the other, COVID 19. A severe drought, no. An economic meltdown exacerbated, means made worse by COVID 19 pandemic and the 2019 Easter Sunday bombing. A military coup, no. Banking collapse, no. Answer is again B is the answer. What movement led to the ousting of President Gotabaya Rajapaksa in 2022? The Aragalaya movement, hold that one. The Green movement, no. The civil rights, no. The National Liberation Front, no. So what is the answer here? It is the first option, Aragalaya movement. What significant step is suggested by the newly elected president regarding provincial councils? Here, editorial suggests something. What has been suggested by the editorial for the one who is going to become the president? To dissolve them completely, to revive and restore them as functional entities. Clearly mentioned, they should be revived and they should become functional entities. to centralize their powers to merge them into a single council? Answer is B. What recent economic improvement is noted in the editorial? Economic improvement after the economic meltdown into 2022. Decrease in the price of electricity, fuel, and cooking gas. Hold this one. A surge in manufacturing exports? No. A drop in unemployment rates? No. Reduction in national debt? No. Initially, the prices hiked, but subsequent to that, later, a decrease in the price of electricity, fuel, and cooking gas was noticed. That is something positive. That's all for today. Today also I could not bring the mock questions. From tomorrow I'll be bringing more questions, new patterns. Bear with the delay and have a nice day. If you want to work on the vocabulary and the important dimensions, join the Telegram group and access the PDF we will provide after the session. Have a nice day. Thank you very much.